Good evening, everyone. I welcome everyone to the October 24th regular board meeting. Thank you for joining us. The meeting will come to order and we will open the meeting with our Pledge of Allegiance. Please join. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Esta junta se lleva a cabo en español, pero contamos con servicio de traducción. Si alguien lo necesita, por favor, indique su necesidad. Should anyone wish to participate in the citizen comment, you can still sign up by completing the form at the entry of the room and handing it over to Kim White. Our virtual attendees had the opportunity to complete the form online before the meeting. Do we have any requests to modify the agenda? All right, hearing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. In this consent agenda, we have the minutes from the October 10th regular meeting, the October 16th workshop, vouchers and payroll, personnel report, contracts, surplus, field trips, the September and October enrollment report, and a new item added to the consent agenda are some policy updates that had non-substantive changes. Hopefully everybody saw those. They were just one-word changes or no changes for updates. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Laura.
Second that motion.
Thank you, Martin. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Before we move on to citizen comments, Julie did notify us that she wouldn't be present. Do we have Catherine online? No. Okay. I was not notified of her attendance. All right, Kim, do we have any citizen comment?
Yes, one citizen comment, Dorothy Ferguson.
Hello. I dropped my grandson off or I was at karate watching my grandson and it was like, oh, do I want to come here? It's late. I'm tired. And I'm like, you guys are going to be here. I'm coming. So I just want to say thank you for being role models in our community for our students, for taking the high road and showing our students how to be good role models for students and others. Just want to tell you about John Newberry and their PTA. They're gearing up for my sister went to their meeting a couple of weeks ago. She's real excited about being part of that group. That's her first opportunity to do that. And she's a great auntie and she really loves it. But preparing for teacher appreciation in November and the winter coat drive, particularly boots and snow pants, because we know how those kids love to be out in the snow. And as we can see by the weather, we're getting pretty close to that. So, but I just want to say thank you for being here and you do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. If we don't have any further citizen comments, we will move on to our special presentations.
Excellent. Let's go ahead and kick off our presentation for tonight. Would like to welcome our Director of Latino and Hispanic Relations, Alfonso Lopez, the man of the hour, the Tower of Power. And he is ready to present to us. He's got a great presentation. And Alfonso, thank you for being here tonight with us.
Thank you. Members for allowing me some time to talk to you about things that I do on a daily basis with my job. And for the people that have come, I want to thank them too. I know the evenings are very busy for everybody, and still there are people that take their time to come and show that they really care about what we are doing in the Wenatchee School District. So with that being said, I want to start my presentation. I just want to make sure that I have all the time that I want, right? No? Okay, 20 minutes. Okay. So thank you very much. First of all, this is my title. I go under the Director of Hispanic and Latino Relations. For the ones that don't know that, I started with this in this position last year, and this is actually my second year. And just to begin with the presentation, I want to let everybody know that I'm really enjoying doing the activities that I'm doing for the Wenatchee School District. I'm learning a lot of things that being a principal, I didn't know. And from this perspective and from this angle, I think I'm in a position to help in other ways. So thank you for having me in this position. That is my title, Director of Hispanic Latino Relations. And I want to begin by acknowledging the team in the Wenatchee School District. We are a team, and I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart, but this is the closest team that I'm working with. That's why I said our team. I should have said my team. But we are a team, the Wenatchee School Board, the administration here at Central Office, administrators in schools, teachers, professionals, parents, everybody. But this is the team that I'm working closely with. That's why I'm mentioning them. I'll start by saying that I'm enjoying working with our superintendent, Dr. Corey Kalahar, very open to ideas, very receptive, and always willing to talk about things that we're doing and what the future entitles for us to have plans and ideas. Obviously, I'm enjoying working with the director of the Wenatchee School District Communication as well, Mrs. Diana Hagland. She's great, she's smart, and she's working really, really hard. So thank you also for allowing me to work along your side. It is enjoyable. You have wonderful ideas and you do an excellent job. The director of special programs, Mr. Jeremy Whitley, he's not here this evening, but he's a busy guy. Well, being in charge of special programs is a humongous task, but he's doing a wonderful job, and I enjoy working with him too, because he is very open also to ideas and open to work together. And this year we hired a migrant program coordinator, and that is Mrs. Nancy Ortiz. She's coming with a lot of energy and with great ideas in supporting and trying to improve our migrant program, but not only the migrant program, but things that we are doing in the Wenatchee School District. So she's a great addition. I'll begin by saying that this is one of the things that I think got the attention of some of you. Una gallinita. Well, I don't know why this is going by itself. Am I doing something wrong here? Anyways, long time ago, I started with a radio program when I was a teacher, and I'm talking about 16 years. I'm not doing that. La gallinita roja trabaja. I think you need to help me with this. I'm going to put it away, okay? Anyways, I started doing a radio program long time ago with the idea that we need to communicate better with our Latino families. Everybody knows that our Latino families are also eager to provide and to learn and to help their kids and all kids to succeed. But sometimes they don't have access to that because they don't know how. And they don't speak the language either. So I had this idea that starting with radio, that would help. I'm not touching it. Yes, I'm not. Anyways, I started with this program long time ago. And then I think it was very successful. Many people and families were listening to it. I grew with this program, like I said before, from long time ago. And then I think this got the attention here, and that is one of the reasons that why the administration called me to come here and to help from central office. rather than from my school. So I took it, and then now we are still doing this radio program. And this is giving us a lot of attention, not only here in the community, but also in the state. There are several districts that are copying what we are doing here, and they want to do some of this too, to communicate with families. And not only in a second language, but in a third language or fourth language as well. And I'm talking more about the West. I meet constantly with people from there. Anyways, we have this program here in Wenatchee, and we have it every Wednesday at 2. And that this is a way to connect with families, but this is not the only way. We are connecting in different ways. If I don't know, we are on the third or fourth slide. I don't know why. But if you help me to go to the second slide, that would be great. The second slide. Anyways, I really wanted to start by obviously pointing out about the team that I'm working closely with, but I also wanted to mention some of the responsibilities that I have given to help the Wenatchee School District. One of them is mainly communication, but a second one is, because I'm going to speak to this a little bit later, the second one is dual language. Where are we with dual language? What are we doing with it? This dual language program has given us a lot of name, a big name in the Wenatchee School District. The Wenatchee School District is known in different places in the United States because of this program, but I don't see this program growing. It seems like we have this program there, but not many people knows about how wonderful this is. And therefore, I have been assigned to help in that regard. And I'll be talking to you a little bit how I'm helping along with many people in the Wenatchee School District. And another responsibility that I still have is to supervise and see how the migrant program is working. That's why I'm working really close with Ms. Nancy Ortiz and Jeremy Whitley. And another thing that also I'm working with is planning the summer school. The summer school that will be coming later at the end of the regular school year. And then I'll be talking to you also about some of the presentations that I'm having in the state, just to highlight some of the great things that are happening here in Wenatchee. So with that being said, another outlet that I'm using to bring information to people in the Wenatchee School District and all over the place is this program called A Good Advice, Un Buen Consejo. You know that there is an organization that is called CAFE, the Community for the Advancement of Family Education. They have a program that they show through Facebook, and they have it like I believe two times a week. I've been invited to participate once a week, and I believe our superintendent also goes there once a week. And this is one way to share with the community also what is happening in the Wenatchee School District. And I know we're getting an audience in other South American countries through this program. So with that, that is one more thing that I'm doing to bring communication to the community. If you don't mind to go to the next one. I'm using also social media now. I know technology is catching up. I know technology is there. We rather acknowledge that, and we like it or not, but technology, the new technology is there. So I thought I'm going to use social media, and with the help of Mrs. Diana Haglund, I launched my own page. And what I'm doing in this Facebook page, I'm communicating with the audience also things that are happening in our district. Like on that slide, particularly, I'm highlighting how important is for our high school students, especially those Latinos that sometimes they are ready to drop out, how this mariachi group and music is helping them to stay in the school and keep performing in different places, but even better performing for themselves academically. So things like those are the things that I'm communicating in my Facebook page. And believe it or not, I still have friends in Mexico. So with this social media, many of my friends that I had long time ago, they are finding me and we're becoming friends again, but now through Facebook. So I'm doing this in English and in Spanish so I can communicate with the audience, because like I said, many people are looking at my Facebook page, and you're more than welcome to join me there. Obviously, I know more a little more about technology. I need to accept you first, right? Anyways, but first you need to request that. That is one thing that I'm doing, informing our community about things that are happening in the Wenatchee School District. Can we go to the next one? And another part of my job is to organize the community and see what kind of supports we have for our families here in the Wenatchee School District. And I'm really proud to say that many agencies come to this room and they share what they offer to our families. And one of the persons that is here always is Mr. Martin Barron. He can testify how many agencies come here and then they share what they have to offer to our families, and it's wonderful. This way, we are spreading the word about the benefits and the services that all these organizations are having for our families. And another addition to this is that we are bringing our family advocates from every school. They collect the information and they bring this information to our families more directly in our schools. So that is a great thing to do. I'm really enjoying this group. By the way, last time we had 46 agencies that came here and they share what they have. It's amazing. It's wonderful. Our families are enjoying that. 30 of these agencies share what they had, but we had 46 or 47, like I said. So this is a group that come and share all the things that they offer to our families. Can we go to the next one? And then another aspect that I have is dual language. Well, if I'm going to be honest, I need to be honest all the time. The dual language program started in 2004 at Lewis and Clark. And from that time until now, I have seen this program to develop and to be better and better and better. But if we really want to make a good impact, we need to improve the program. This program, for what I know, if I go out in the community, not many people know the benefits or how this dual language program works. I'll start by saying that this is a program that is promising that the kids that is starting K will become bilingual, biliterate, and bicultural, but not only if they go to elementary, they need to continue with middle school and they need to continue with high school. That is the promise of dual language. But in this society, we are looking for always scores. We are looking for something that shows that our kids are learning. In a dual language program, we teach in 2 languages. Therefore, those results really are not expected that soon. Those results are expecting later. If I had to start all over with my own kids, I wouldn't change it, because my kids in the elementary years, especially kinder, first, second, and third, they were not shining. But I was okay with that because we were aiming to have the benefits for life, not for kinder, first, second, or third grade. Now, after years went by and my kids are working now in different places, I know all the advantages they have for being bilingual. And that is something that I really dream for everybody in the Wenatchee School District. But it's not easy to put together a dual language program. It's not easy. It's not simple. And we have a lot of pressure from the community to see results. So if we're not patient with that, and if we don't put what we need to put together to have a good dual language program, I don't think we're going to get those results. With that in mind, now working with another team, dual language team, this is the plan that we are developing for the future, but not a very, very long-term future because we don't have that time. We just need to move on. So one of the things that we are doing is to make sure that our community is aware of what we are doing, where we are heading with dual language, and the benefits that this dual language has. So one of the things that we need to do is to bring experts to tell us what those benefits are and how we can get them. What are some of the things that we need to do to improve the program? So we started with that already. Last week, we had Dr. Richard Gomez. He is an eminent person that knows a lot about dual language. So he came and he talked to our administration here, and then he spent the day talking with other groups, what we can do to do better with dual language. Well, that is one step. I expect that we'll bring experts later to keep guiding us more. The other thing that we are doing is if we really want to see models, we need to go out and look at schools that are doing great in the state. Well, we have planned to visit already. So next Sunday, we'll be leaving to Kennewick, and we are going to visit the dual language they have, I believe K to middle school, to high school. So we're gonna have a chance to see what are the things that they are doing to have success. And then in January, we'll go also to Highline. They have another a successful dual language program. We want to see what is working, what is not, and keep improving our program here in Wenatchee. Again, the promise is we are going to get this kind of students with the benefits that dual language brings, only if we keep the students from K to 12. Without that, I don't think we're going to get the results that we expect. Another step that we have to make, and we're going to make, is to provide professional development for teachers at Lewis and Clark. They are doing the job, but they need to know what they are doing, and they need to do how to do it better. So we are going to bring people, or somehow we are going to train our teachers how to teach better in a dual language setting. And then we are going to start informing the community too about the steps that we are taking in the Wenatchee School District and where we are heading. That is part of my responsibility working with the team in the Wenatchee School District. So if we keep going to the next one, please. And right there is nothing else, but here are our administrators listening to Dr. Richard Gomez, which is the expert. He came from Texas and he spent the day with us on October 18th. Please go to the next one. The other part that I'm doing along with Ms. Nancy Ortiz is to organize the parents with the advisory council, the PAC. We're having a promise here. We're talking about diversity, integration, and all of those things that we're talking about in our promise. 54% of our students are Latinos. And when we see how many people, Latino people, participate in events and related to education in the Wenatchee School District, and also in meetings like this, we rarely see Latinos. Why? Well, there is work to do. That's why I'm working with this group and trying to be more into what is happening in the schools. Many times we ask Latinos, okay, fill out the survey. What do you think about our system? What can we do to improve? They don't know very well the system, and they are afraid to fill those surveys because they don't know. Well, they need to know, they need to learn. So what we are doing with this PAC, which is nothing else but it's a group of people leading the migrant program. If we go to the next slide, please. what we are doing is trying to make it more active, because their primary goal of the PAC is the planning, implementation, and evaluation of the services for migrant students. The PAC board is supposed to work closely with district officials like the special program director, the migrant coordinator, and the district superintendent to provide input on better services for migrants. If that is what they need to do, obviously they need to know how our system works. So we have our board, but one of the things that we are doing is we're taking them to visit the schools. So if we go to the next slide, we're going to see that they are really into schools also. They want to know what is happening in the schools. They haven't had a chance to do this in an organized way. So now we just went to visit Mission View. It was amazing to see the Mr. Jeff Jogger and the teachers like, welcome to our school. Finally, we see Latinos in our classrooms. And then obviously Mr. Jeff Jogger is right there explaining what is happening at Mission View. Now, obviously the members will know more about how we operate in our schools, and they'll have a better voice to say, this is what is working. What about this? Bring some more ideas. Isn't that what we're asking for? So we went to visit Mission View. And if you go to the next slide, we're going to see that they went to visit Lewis and Clark. Same thing. They went to check how a school is, and Mr. Mario Avila, the principal, shared things that are happening there. It was great insights. Now, in 2 weeks, they are going to visit Sunny Slope and also John Newberry. I think we are going to get some ideas coming from this wonderful group. If we go to the next slide, this group obviously needs to know more about how we operate, and they are having meetings also with Dr. Kalahar. I don't know if this had happened before, but I think if we still do this, they feel more comfortable coming to our system and share ideas and be part of our Wenatchee School District. So we are meeting with, they are meeting with the superintendent, and we're planning to have these meetings every 2 or 3 months. Please go to the next one. And another one of my responsibilities is still help to plan the PAC meetings and the multilingual nights. If you have come to those, you see how many people we see there. A lot of families come. We need to integrate all families, not only the multilingual or the migrant families, and that is coming, where we will integrate everybody, not only our migrant families. But if you go there, you will see from 300 to 400 people coming to these meetings. And it's great because right there is where we can share some of the things that we need to share from the Wenatchee School District. Keep going, please. One thing that I'm getting more active with is presentations. For whatever reason, I don't know what the reason is exactly, but I've been asked to share more of the things that we're doing in Wenatchee, and particularly to share a little bit of my story, I guess, to motivate parents or districts to keep striving for other things that they need to do. So I went to present to Yakima on August 14, and we had a lot of participation there. Now I also went to Puyallup on October 14, kind of the same thing, to share with them some of the things that are happening here in our district. And then on October 30th, which is next Monday, I'll be presenting to administrators and teachers in Yakima also, and then with Mount Vernon as well. So that allows me to highlight the great things that are happening in the Wenatchee School District, but also to learn from them, because that is a great way to learn, not only to share the great things that are happening, but also to learn from them. If some great things happen in districts, it's because obviously we are sometimes copying those great things that are happening in other districts. So with that, I'm going to stop my presentation. one of the things that we didn't see on the radio program that I have, one of the things that I'm talking to is the fact that our district and many districts are not doing very well with reading. And reading, is one of our big six. We have to do whatever we can do to bring better scores in reading. But reading, a lot of that has to do with practice. And I know that teachers don't have the time to teach the strategies of reading and also practice. So one of the things that I'm doing during the radio program is I read some of these wonderful stories that I'm sure you know. I'm sure you know the Aladdin and the Magic Lamp. Who doesn't know that one? The Wizard of Oz, the Gingerbread Man, the Ugly Duckling. All of those stories that we, as soon as we hear them or read them, we are in love with them. So I read one story to the audience, and then I'm allowing people to call in and provide some of these books to them, because that way they'll have books at home so kids can actually be in love with the reading, but also have materials at home to read. Hopefully they'll get the attention of many families so they can keep striving to have their kids reading at home. I could keep talking about other things, but I think I wanted to just bring a picture of some of the things that I'm doing. And now, obviously, I'm open to questions and comments.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. Just want to thank you for being a good advocate for students in our district and a spokesperson. Feels like we've needed somebody like you in this position for a long time. And so I'm really grateful that you are providing this service to the community. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate your comment. Thank you.
I also don't have any questions, but I do want to have some comments. And they're around the word ambassador, which is part of your responsibility. And I think I want to frame it in, first of all, thank you for the extraordinary work you're doing. And as you're, 14 months into this new position, I see all sorts of advances being made. But I'm going to go back to the diversity, equity, and inclusion for the district. To me, that is something that is cannot be delegated. Right there is our CEO and our equity officer. But in my view, the district needs an ambassador. And what an ambassador does is it goes that way and back and forth. Now, your area is a very big portion of our diversity, equity, and inclusion world. And seeing that ambassadorial role really work, I think, is important. And I want other people to recognize that. And so I trust Dr. Kelleher to be our DEI officer. And I'm really happy with seeing the active way that you're getting out to so many different groups and seeing them flourish, like the Core Pack group, and taking them into schools is wonderful. That will make a huge difference. And then one thing I was going to put in my comment, I went in Pasco to the quarterly State Advisory Committee for Migrant Education, and so did the Secretary of the COPAC, Teresa Godina, our employee. And when I haven't done it yet, because haven't been organized, there was a very practical, excellent day in Pasco. And there's things there that I was planning to bring and to you, to Nancy Ortiz, from that, not that I know anything, but there was material that we can change. And the reason I say that is what you're doing, you're going out and back and going back and forth. This whole ambassadorial aspect of your work, I think, is something that we can think about in the whole district. And so thank you very, very much. And let's use that to mirror into other areas. Thank you.
I too just have comments, and I think we know why they're asking you to present at these other districts. I thank you for bringing up the concept of bilingualism and the need for it to go from K through 12. I think we need to revisit this conversation. I feel like our district pulled away from that secondary dual language pathway, and so thank you for bringing it up and the time being spent on that. I know there's different levels of bilingualism, but carrying it through the secondary level into high school and the possibilities of getting more students for that biliteracy seal is just advancing the district. In regards to, I got to attend the radio show a couple weeks ago, and it was really neat to see that relationship that you've developed with the local radio stations. Well, do you want to tell them a little bit about the cameras that were following you around that day?
Well, like I said, I can spend a long time because there are some other things that are happening in my world. But one of the things that is happening, I'm saying our Wenatchee School District shines in different aspects, but many times we are concentrated or only the negative parts come to be seen. But this aspect that Mrs. Iñiguez is talking about is one, I know some people, the OSPI level, and one day they called me and they said, we need to videotape what is happening in the Wenatchee School District and the Wenatchee School District with migrant families. So why don't you help us to create a video, to videotape, to have a great video and circulate it in the state to show how wonderful Wenatchee is with the apples, but how hard this work is, and still families come to do the harvest, send the kids to school, and those things that you still need to deal with, because it's not the same to serve migrant students because they are moving from school to school. And we don't see many times that aspect. So it would be nice to have a video to educate the community about migrant, how they live and how many barriers they're having in schools and how the Wenatchee School District is doing. So they came and they follow a family to one day to see what they do, how they send the kids to school, how the schools receive them, and all of those things. The same day we had a radio program, and it happens to be that Mrs. Iñiguez was my guest that day. So they said, we want to see how you're connecting with the community. So they came and they follow mainly Miss Iñiguez because she's more cute than anyways, they came to the radio station and they videotape right there, and they have a good they took I guess good things back to OSPI. But as a matter of fact, before I came to this meeting, they called me and they want to do more for the Wenatchee School District now that they know what we are doing. And that is the way to create relations so we can learn from others and then show how wonderful the Wenatchee School District is, because we really have good things happening in our district. So that's what I had to share. Sorry that it took so long.
And, I also we have to thank you to the district superintendent for seeing the value in the position that Mr. Lopez has. Any further questions or comments?
I'll just add, Alfonso, thank you so much for your presentation and your time tonight. We do all know why you are sought after and why you are the ambassador for the work that you do. It's your passion and it's your presence and it's your love for the work. So thank you for everything that you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you, but I don't want to go without saying that one person cannot do it alone, and that's why we have a very good team. And I mean it. I mean it. I know all of you, how hard you work, the school board, and sometimes you have to make so very difficult decisions, and you still do that, thinking always kids. And I appreciate that. But same thing with administrators, same thing with the cabinet, same thing with everybody. So we make a good team. It's not me, it's the team. So thank you very much.
Fabulous. Next on our agenda, we have discussion, and we have a handful of policies.
We do have a handful, don't we? We have, for one reason or another, missed maybe a vital meeting in September for policy, but we are doing it now. And no, it was we didn't plan to have our meeting until October, but there just ended up being quite a few policies on there. So we'll jump in here, and I want to thank Catherine and Martin for their time on the policy committee, and a special shout out to Kim White for all the work that she does to put together the immense packets and does a lot of the reading and research on her own. And she is quite proficient when it comes to policy and procedure. So we appreciate all the work that she does there. But yeah, let's get started. Everybody ready? We're ready. Okay. So the first policy is policy 1400. Hang on, and that is meeting conduct, order of business, and quorum. And this is an essential policy revised after House Bill 1210, requiring districts to have audio recordings of board meetings. And that was kind of the bulk of this particular policy. And we feel like we are ahead of the policy and kind of ahead of the game in the work that we do here. We have a video archive of each of our board meetings and workshops, and anything that the board of directors participates in. So we felt good about that policy to move forward. But any comment from the policy committee?
On that one, no, I think that was, as you say, we were already doing it, and this is new legislation and compliance.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. And as we move down the list, policy 1220 and 1450 were added by request of the board for review. And for 1220, we dove into conversations around the calendar year items and committees beginning on even years. We also discussed the language around giving advance notice to the board chair, superintendent, and executive assistants when unable to attend a board meeting. And then 1450 kind of goes along with the 1220, and we made sure the language matched that of 1220 about giving advance notice when missing a meeting to the board chair, superintendent, and executive assistant. And as a policy committee, we felt pretty good about the policy with regard to the fact that it actually does not address the parameters of remote attendance. At this point, we felt that there are times when remote attendance is necessary. We did not want to box in the district or a particular board member per se. We also had received some recommendations from WASDA to be cautious in this respect. And so that was basically a summary of our conversation around 1220 and 1450. Any conversation from the policy committee?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
No, there's
Okay. So in 1450, in the first paragraph, last sentence, the majority of the board may excuse a board member's extended absence from a meeting if requested to do so. So if a board member requests to be excused, does that mean the board will then take a vote at the meeting to either approve or disapprove of the request? Because yeah, sounds
for an
like,
extended absence. Yeah.
okay, so have
Go
we
ahead.
defined extended
Mhm.
absence?
I can speak on that, and actually, I want to get into it with the two other minor changes that we have, and it's a kind of a package. WASDA had standard wording and says in the write-up that we're not quite using WASDA standard wording for these two policies on absences.
We are not.
We are not, no, and I'll explain why. But one of the things that I think is a good thing is the election of a legislative rep. WASDA's wording put it in the first meeting of the new calendar year. And after some discussion, we felt that actually it's a good idea not to do it at the reorganization meeting, particularly when you have changes in board members. That way, board members can settle in and the legislative rep can be appointed, elected a little bit later. It gives people time to settle in and understand what's going on. So that's the one change. The other one was on courtesy and protocol. And I'm going to speak for myself at this point. The chair or president is the person responsible for board matters and is the primary person who should receive all requests for absences. And that is crystal clear to me, and that's the way it should be. And we actually had the old WASDA policies had two sets of wordings as who gets notified and how that were not the same. So we went into this wanting to have uniformity in the performances. In the end, after some discussion about people who might not get messages and how to transmit it between different people, the slight change we made is that our proposed policy is a member who's going to be absent from a meeting will have the courtesy to notify the board president and the superintendent, who's the secretary of the board, and the executive assistant, Kim, who's the person who keeps us all on track. That way we're fail safe. There is no excuse not to notify the board president. And that seems practical. And that's how that part was done. Then getting to Laura's question, we had some discussion about excused absences. We had listened to, we've taken technically, at the technical level, looked a little bit at what should be done about remote attendance. There are some public entities that have policies. We've seen one sample of one. It looks pretty onerous and maybe not necessarily very flexible. It is correct that WASDA pointed out that in their opinion, there isn't a good standard, and their words, I think, were to be very careful before you do anything in this area. And I won't go further than that. But then we got into the question of what is an excused or an unexcused absence. This is standard WASDA wording that the board is the one that decides if it's excused or unexcused. But to me, that's the cart before the horse, because if you're phoning in or letting somebody know you can't come, we have long had responsible board members who, when they're traveling or ill, phone in, check in, and it is a courtesy, it's a protocol. And we have not, fortunately, had, let's say, have to address somebody who doesn't show up at all. This is an issue about being remote. And so we decided the question of, at this point, 4 unexcused absences in a row is completely unexcused, complete absences unexcused would be a rarity. And the WASDA wording, I agree, is not clear. But it didn't seem like a good idea to wordsmith something different from WASDA's policy at this point, and then kind of put ourselves into a situation and that if we felt that somebody was a habitual offender, then we could bring the whole board in, we could use our ethics policy, and we could deal with it that way. That was where the policy committee ended up, to tolerate what was just slightly ambiguous wording, because we could pick it up, and that there was not, the policy committee did not feel that it was a good idea to try and write something that was tight and accurate, because it would be unintended consequences for something that rarely happens.
Right. So the blue wording is Wenatchee School District specific, not WASDA wording. Is that what you're saying on policy 1450?
The and is our wording. I believe WASDA's was included in 4.
So what it says is deleted board members are required, and instead it says whenever possible, each board member will give advance notice to the, then there's the, chair, superintendent, and executive assistant, inability to attend a board meeting. And then it says in blue, a majority of the board may excuse a board member's extended absence from a meeting if requested to do so. That is so squishy. Like,
Well,
what in the world?
I think that's really intended for somebody who is seriously ill and absent for a long
What's an
period of
extent-
time, or
it
on
just
military absence.
Jumps in the same paragraph from, a board member's responsibility to give advance notice of an absence. And then very next sentence is a majority of the board may excuse a board member's extended absence, without flowing into the first sentence applies to an individual absence. And then an extended absence is defined as, I'd rather see that. And a majority of the board may excuse a board member's extended absence from a meeting. It's contradictory. We say extended absence, and you're saying that's multiple meetings. And then the sentence says, may excuse the absence from a meeting. So I think that, I just feel like that language needs to be cleaned up a bit. Definition and clarity. I don't like the squishy part about whenever possible, each board member might give advance notice that they may not attend. we're all responsible adults, and if you're elected to a position, you ought to be required to let people know whether you'll be here or not. There's legal issues at stake, in terms of quorum, making decisions of the board where we need a quorum. And I think we need to be firm about that, and I'm opposed to the squishy language.
Fair enough, then I think we should take that input. But while I think about it, the whenever possible is WASDA's wording, and we did have some discussion about that. And I think the issue that we did not feel we had a good solution to was, on the one hand, you write something that is very rigid and has unintended consequences of somebody technically being unexcused. People do have surprises, and we rely on our board members to be responsible. So whenever possible is one of the questions. You could have taken that out and say will. That's one possibility. And I think I'd like to listen to comment from both of you. If you don't like the whenever possible and believe it should be will, and that should be deleted, that should go back to the drawing board and we should consider it. Then following that same talk, having the whole board decide if it's excused or unexcused is a little late when the notification can and does only come to the board president, the board secretary, and the board's executive assistant, because that's practical.
Right, and so
I'd like to speak if that's all right for a moment, being on the policy committee and having been there for that meeting. I don't know, Dr. Callahar and Martin, if you recall, I asked that sentence be moved to the second paragraph because it makes more sense that if an extended leave of absence or time off of the board needs to happen, then that is the time that the board would take a vote on something, as the example states, illness, military, active or training, military duty, etc. So I asked for that last sentence, a majority of the board may excuse a board member's extended absence, to be moved to the second paragraph, because that is the time that it makes sense for the board to come together to, quote, excuse an absence. But furthermore, the email that we received from Abigail Westbrook, Ms. White asked for language to clarify remote attendance. And it's no secret that the entire reason this policy was put forward was because of my remote attendance. And it was part of the attempt to kick me off the board, as the three of you were attempting to do. So when Ms. White asked for clarification in sample language that increases the restrictions on remote attendance, she said she does not have sample language, and I'm reading straight from her email. Although the board could decide to do so, I would recommend proceeding cautiously, being mindful of the reasons that a person might need to attend remotely and not creating unnecessary hardships for someone in such circumstances. Another thing that we spoke about, I found very interesting, is that there are multitudes of board members, apparently, across the state that are, well, maybe not multitudes, but enough that it was noted, that are snowbirds. So they spend a good portion of their year in their district attending meetings, but when they are out of town for the winter time, they attend remotely, which is another reason that she cautioned that we not put restrictions on, as you said, Laura, adult, duly elected people who are supposed to take their responsibility seriously.
that makes sense, what you just said, moving that sentence to the second paragraph, it makes more sense. I just feel like if we're going to have a designation between unexcused and excused absence, it doesn't seem to follow what the difference is. I mean, if there's no difference between an excused and an unexcused absence, why bother?
I agree with Laura's comment. And on Abigail Westbrook, I wasn't involved in the communication between Ms. Westbrook. I'm assuming she represents SWASTA. In regards to the type of attendance, I think it'd be worth the idea of presenting it to our district legal counsel and see how they feel expressing whether it's remote or in person. Because the reality is, we know that meetings in person are different than meetings remote. We've all experienced it. And then the challenging of scheduling also. So I think it's worth asking legal counsel, district legal counsel, to see if there's what are the legalities of adding remote versus in person.
And the legal counsel you'd like to use is the legal counsel that wrote up a resolution to remove me from the board.
If we can consult the district legal counsel.
I agree with that. I think I was going to ask if we could get input from the remaining board members, but I think that we've had frankly, this is not clear. A majority of the board may excuse a board member's extended absence from a meeting if requested to do so. There's nothing here about what's an unexcused absence. I totally agree. So where we left it, I'm saying where this piece of paper was brought before the board was unclear, but left that way intentionally as being not a productive route to proceed. I think I hear that the board would like us to proceed, would like us to take counsel legally, like us to ask more technical questions for outside organizations other than WASDA, and come back again with an alternative proposal to the board.
And Kim, can you send us WASDA's recommended version?
All right, excellent. Thank you for the conversation. We'll move on to policy 2190. 2190 is around our highly capable programs, HiCap programs. WASDA has revised this model policy based on Senate Bill 5072. And the legislation requires changes to the referral and screening process for highly capable students programs to make them more equitable. Our practice in the Wenatchee School District have been updated to reflect these changes in the policy. In fact, I was presenting at Sunny Slope Elementary last week, and I was able to watch Kathy Moody and Katie Stephanitis present on the new screening process that are related to this policy. So we are feeling pretty good about where we are with our HiCap programs and following the letter of the law. Okay, any comments?
I'll just add, it takes away judgmental and language, the use of the word select. And it also, something I commented on in the policy committee meeting that I think is a good practice that WASDA seems to be developing in their model policies, is it no longer gives, for example, descriptions of what is a highly capable student. A student is highly capable. They are screened and placed. They're not examples which the mere list of an example could create a certain bias.
All right, thank you. The next policy is 2230, and this is our transition to kindergarten policy, which we're excited about. This is a new policy based on House Bill 1550, transition to kindergarten program. OSPI has adopted currently for the 23-24 school year what they're calling emergency rules for this school year, and will adopt permanent rules in the following year. There was some fun that happened in the legislative session last year with regard to transition to kindergarten, and there's also some changes in the structure and the way that it's funded. So we're looking forward to the permanent rules coming this next year in our legislative session, which is short, so that's always good. But we're thrilled to offer transition to kindergarten opportunities to our families, and look forward to the more permanent rules so that we can continue offering that. Any conversation or discussion from the policy committee? Okay. Policy 3207, prohibition of harassment, intimidation, and bullying of students. This is based on House Bill 1207. WASDA has made some revisions to the essential model policy of 3207. There are some updates to the rules around the reporting of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. There's also some updates and some consequences for false reporting of harassment, intimidation, and bullying, and also updates on the good faith reporting as well. Any comments from Policy Committee?
I do have a question. So this policy in the A, B, C, and D section after the first paragraph represents, talks about students, damaging students' property, interference with students' education, threatening the educational environment, and disorderly operation of the school. So as we, I think, have all been aware that there have been some harassment and bullying incidents that have occurred in extracurricular environment, which I wouldn't necessarily define as, interfering with a student's education. Does the board feel like that language could possibly be expanded to include extracurricular athletics or any other activity that might occur outside of a school building, school event?
Yeah, I could support that. Maybe disrupting the orderly operation of the school or school-sponsored activity.
Something like that. Policy committee member, have any comment about that?
I believe we could, yes, we'd have to, if it's not. Just look at that. I think the short answer, since the policy committee did not go into it, I would have to think about what our perimeter was and whether it was a legitimate perimeter of our scope of work. But if that did fit in and did not capture anything unintentional, then it sounds like a good idea. But I think, let's put it that way, unless the policy committee finds something that we have not discussed now, it probably is a good idea and we could bring it back for second reading. Okay.
Absolutely. Excellent. Okay, we have policy 3231. Student records. WASDA revised this model policy based on Senate Bill 5127, student personal information, Public Records Act exemption. Changes in the policy relate to and others, but Secretary of State's website had changed and was updated, as well as removing the idea that a student's diploma can be withheld for not paying fines, which is also reflected in 3520. In a lot more detail. Thoughts or comments from the policy committee or other board members? Okay, we'll jump into policy 3520, which is related to student fines, fees, and changes. And this policy is being revised based on House Bill 1536, high school diplomas, withholding for property damage. And the idea here is that diplomas used to be withheld until students' fines and fees were all paid off and then released accordingly. Now, specifically, the legislation is limiting withholding a diploma to when the damages exceed $1,000, or requires the school district to release that student's withheld diploma after 5 years or until the amount owed is less than $1,000, whichever is earlier. Additionally, the legislation provides that the district must credit the monetary value of the student's community services towards damages as well. Yep, so that's good. Comments?
I think that most of that is adjusting to new law, and the community service aspect of it, something that should be emphasized because that is a good way of getting out of a harsh penal situation.
Absolutely. And I think it definitely falls back on the district to make sure that we have other ways, when we talk about fines, fees, and student charges, that we have other ways that are not related to graduation and the end of that educational journey to recoup some of those costs. And so we're looking at those policies as well, and how we can have specific markers throughout a student's educational journey to get those paid off, not just waiting until the very end.
Just causing me pause for a second. So does that mean if the student was unable to resolve their debt to the district, that they would not be able to claim for employment or further education purposes that they had indeed graduated? Or is this a ceremonial diploma withholding representation?
So if a student had damages or fines exceeding $1,000, their ceremonial hang on the wall diploma is what would be held. The transcripts cannot legally be withheld ever.
Okay,
So
so
they
you
could,
can't deny that
Correct.
the student did the work to complete the degree.
yep, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Good clarification there.
Mhm.
Appreciate that. Other comments or discussion? Okay. Policy 5005, employment and volunteers. And the update of this policy pertains to background checks for all staff and volunteers who have regularly scheduled unsupervised access to students. We have been in compliance with RCWs and are updating our policy language accordingly. There's also many of the updates in this particular policy fall on the RCWs and WACs, as you can kind of see as you look at that. Comments or discussion? All right. 5010, non-discrimination and affirmative action. The updates to 5010 non-discrimination and affirmative action pertains to equal employment opportunities and treatment for all employees, and updated language around protected characteristics. There is updated language on discriminatory harassment and employees with disabilities. Any discussion or comment? Moving forward. All right, 6215, expense claim certification and approval. WASDA has revised and renamed this policy to update the current language, usage terms, and to resolve a mismatch between statutory provisions and common practice. Updates guide the board to review and approve claims. Another fun part of your job. Other comments or discussion? One more, 6220, bid or request for proposal requirements. This revision clarifies information about procurement using federal funds. This is a guiding document when it comes to capital projects, property work, and purchasing, which I'm finding and learning a lot about. The update also incorporates provisions from House Bill 1086 regarding the community service organization exceptions to competitive bidding laws for public works. Substantial updates to the use of non-federal funds, construction service, bid requirements, and self-certifications are also present. It's quite a robust policy.
And I will comment on that. There is a policy which is basically helpful for us. We need to follow those guidelines. And I will add that it has a detailed procedure that goes along with it that in many ways is just as important. It's a handbook kind of policy for audit and control, internal control purposes.
Absolutely. This makes it very clear to people working on projects throughout the district of what their obligations and process are. So I'm very appreciative of this new policy.
Me too. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate the work of the policy committee. We have another policy committee date on the books as November 13th, I believe, or close to it. So we'll be able to get to some of the suggestions and comments here. So thank you to the board as well. And back to our agenda in progress.
Perfect. So those will move hopefully for a second read.
Yes.
Next is our superintendent report.
Let's jump into it. We just finished homecoming week, folks, and it was quite an exciting week. I was fortunate enough to participate in a few things. The first was flag football on Monday night, which was felt like a flash flood was on the way, but nonetheless, the girls were playing in the Apple Bowl, and the crowd may not have been as large as it usually is, but there were people there, and flag football went on. And so I was impressed with the turnout. Wednesday night, I made it to the boys indoor volleyball, where some of the teams make it look easy and some of them make it look a little more challenging. This year I missed, there's usually a staff team. And I'm so excited to see the staff play there as well, but that we were missing the staff team this year. So we're going to have to do some work to resurrect that. But as usual, very creative names, very creative outfits from when the boys play volleyball. Thursday evening saw a play-in game for our slow pitch softball team, which they won. And we saw an exciting volleyball match against Lake Stevens that evening, which our volleyball team won. It was incredibly fast paced. Then we had the homecoming football game and with the homecoming royalty at halftime, and then the dance as well. So they also had Spirit Week at the high school and a couple of middle schools. And I believe Westside Spirit Week is this week because they always kind of incorporate it with Halloween as well. So that was the homecoming update, which was super fun. Softball update, which I'm trying to have on most of the times that we're able to meet. We had a team of individuals who sat down and went through each of the 6 proposals that were sent by the firms and the companies around the state for architectural and design purposes. We used a detailed process and a systemic scoring tool. We narrowed down the 6 firms to 3 and invited those 3 firms back to interview in person here at the school district on Tuesday, October 17th. And that was a challenging process because these firms are really good at what they do and presented some great ideas, but we did narrow that down, and we're looking forward to bringing forth a contract back to the board as soon as possible for architectural and design work for our softball. And we're going to be quick about it too, because the timeline from all 3 of those firms said, this is aggressive, get us in here soon. And so we're like, okay, we're going to do that. And then a sports update, as you know, there's lots of stuff happening in sports. We're headed into the final week of fall sports with playoff. Playoff seeding is up for grabs in girls soccer and football. State berths in cross country and girls swimming and volleyball has clinched the first place seed and will host districts on November 4th. So very excited about that. And finally, attendance. As you probably heard or seen on social media for the school district, we are focusing on attendance, and we're participating in a nationwide effort to reduce chronic absenteeism, which means missing too much school for any reason, excused or unexcused. And specifically, being chronically absent means missing 10% of the school year or 18 days. And unfortunately, the statistics are not great for the state of Washington. They're not great for the Wenatchee School District. But to address this issues, our schools and leaders are working on clear and empathetic communication with families to raise awareness of the issue, and also connecting them to resources to remove barriers and getting students to school and creating a stronger sense of belonging in our schools as well. But superintendent's update. Thank you.
Dr. Calhart, do you see the correlation? Do we know, have we found the different reasons why students' absences are up?
There's a lot of reasons. And I don't know if I can pinpoint them all exactly, but we are seeing that some of it relates to some of the regulations that we had for COVID and how we worked through that process, and we encouraged students to stay home. And now we're urging them, if you're legitimately sick, you can stay home, but we'd love to have you come to school if it's the sniffles or just maybe a common cold or something like that. So we're seeing some of that. We also are just experiencing some general apathy as well from both our students and our parents in the necessity of school, since they were able to do some things online or virtually or remote in our hybrid world. And so along with that and a variety of other issues that I think are being addressed in our strategic plan with regards to belonging and connection. So there's a host of things. Also, I think just kind of taking care of our students and their overall well-being is something that we want to focus on at the school level as well. So, yeah, lots of things. Thank you, though.
Thank you. Okay, next is board communications. And before we make our rounds, I want to just touch base on a meeting we had in response to the September 26th regular board meeting. So on October 16th, Dr. Kelleher, myself met with Catherine Thomas for a fact-finding meeting regarding Catherine's residency. The meeting was in result of the September 26th regular board meeting. During the meeting, I asked Catherine the following three questions, and I will follow up with her response. Where is your primary residence? And she identified Canyon Road, Wenatchee. What is your voter registration? Is your voter registration valid in the state of Washington and Chelan County? Her response was yes. Through your family's ongoing transition to Texas, do you feel that you have violated board policy 1113 or 1815 or any other policy in any way? Her response was no. So, given the responses, no further action will be taken by the board on this matter. And now I'll open up the floor for any further board communication. I'm good.
Yes, I have some. On October the 11th, I sat in on the monthly Student Advisory Council meeting. And all I want to say there is it absolutely reinforces the value of listening to student perspective. We really need to do it. That board does it. I think those of you there, that is something that is crucial, and I congratulate the school district on activating that. I also sat in on the closing meeting at Lewis and Clark on the dual language day with consultant Dr. Gomez. I was going to say he's actually very familiar with Washington. I believe he was here 3 years working, so he knows us and the state pretty well. I'm going to open up a little bit because I think that you'd hoped to get some parents come, but we didn't have any parents present to listen to that. I wanted to be aware. And I kind of got a lesson of how demanding teaching a dual language program is. It's not the same as teaching in a straight monolingual school. And also, I already knew how complex the logistics were trying to put together a different kind of program in school systems across schools with diverse student body. And I was aware that throughout this time, this district has struggled trying to find an optimal solution, and we haven't got there yet. And so having heard the presentation from Mr. Lopez and I think I'm well aware that the district is really putting an effort into having another look, correct? Mm-hmm. I just wanted to say that from the sidelines, I'm very supportive, and I got an education of what a challenge this is. We need to find greater success in dual language education. And the way to do it is not easy, and it's going to take a lot of open-mindedness. Attendance and absenteeism has been dealt with already, but I want to just do it again as an echo. It is a national problem. I had it on my list to make a comment anyway, and I was going to say it's good that on the October 13th bulletin, the district fronted up to the issue and brought it to the fore. The word that comes to me when we think about it is how to make our schools relevant. That does feed into a climate that students enjoy. It does feed into trying to overcome apathy. It does feed into having education prepare you to be future ready and have students be excited about their subject matter. It feeds into the efforts that we have in career and technical education and the variety. All I'm going to say is, yes, it's there. We need to work on it. We need to support it. And I'm not even thinking of answers because I don't have them. But I think we need to front up to that as a major effort that we're going to be making.
Catherine?
At the September 26th board meeting, I was blindsided with an attempt by Laura, Martin, and Maria to remove me from the board. A resolution was written by Danielle Marchant at the direction of Laura, and I assume the cooperation of Martin and Maria. The resolution was written and the district was charged for the work done by the law firm, a very large amount, without ever bothering to ask me if any of the Facebook posting was true. this all began with a Facebook posting by a woman who calls herself the devil. I'm not sure why she's chosen me to target, maybe because I've been referred to as the Grace City Church affiliated board member, or because I'm one of the only 2 conservatives on the board. But regardless, this person's Facebook postings were enough to instigate this entire debacle, turning attention away from the district, the work of the district educators, and away from our students, drawing attention to the board. Dramatic, embarrassing, unnecessary attention that distracts from the work of the district. I'm embarrassed by it, not because I've done anything wrong, but because members of this board are so politicized and petty that they would waste time, attention, and worst of all, the district's money, the students' money, taxpayers' money on this, frankly, garbage. Garbage posted on Facebook by someone referring to herself as the devil, who, by the way, proudly endorses Martin and Maria for re-election. I felt very strongly that this needed to be addressed. And I find it also disturbing that, Maria, you're willing to put forward more attention to this by wanting the policy committee or the policy on attendance to be reviewed by a lawyer again, wasting more of the district's money. I just find it so disheartening that this issue, this attention was given to this issue when there were literally 3 board meetings left. I have 1 board meeting left. So I just, I think it's worth considering maybe paying back the district for the funds that were wasted on this resolution. That's all.
Thank you, Catherine. So I was watching a middle school football game last week, and I was pleased to see that the slow pitch women's team was using the field behind the high school. So that was really exciting to see. And then I will report more at the next board meeting, but I have been invited as a guest speaker to Ms. Johnson's AVID class tomorrow at 9 o'clock. So I'm pretty excited about that as well. So, any further board communication? Great. All right, hearing none, our next board meeting is scheduled for November 14th. And, oh no, the meeting is not adjourned. At this time, the school board will now recess into executive session for a period of 30 minutes until 7:52 to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment, to review the performance of a staff member, or to receive and evaluate complaints or charges brought against a director or staff member. Pursuant to District Policy Number 1410 and RCW 4230110, this discussion will be closed to the public. The school board is not expected to take final action following the executive session. The school board is extending the executive session for an additional 20 minutes until 8:20. this time, the board meeting has adjourned.